gonna swing on me? That won't get you, son. He gonna swing on me? I ain't did nothing to that man, bro.
The events of yesterday night left even the most seasoned partygoers in disbelief. It was one of those nights when the most famous nightclub in the city seemed electrified. The lights were flashing, the music was loud, and the space was packed with influencers, celebrities, and everyone else in between. Things were going to get heated because 3 familiar figures had unresolved business, even if the majority of people had come to dance and unwind.
I just had to cool off, right? Just get my mind right, man, you know. But I really gotta get this off my chest, man.
Despite the busyness of the VIP section, Kirk Frost and young Jock, dressed to impress, were not their usual rowdy, talkative selves. Something wasn't right. They were sitting in their corner booth like monarchs watching their court. Yet they were holding drinks, but neither of them was really drinking. Instead, their eyes were continuously searching the crowd. As the Jock leaned in to talk to Kirk, who barely nodded but kept his gaze fixed in the middle of the dance floor, the average clubgoer thought they looked trendy and composed, but their body language gave the opposite impression. People were coming from all directions, but Kirk and Jock weren't there to party. They had a view of the area from their VIP booth, so they didn't waste any time waiting for anyone. Then there was Lil Scrappy, unaware that catastrophe was approaching. He walked in with a familiar swagger, a wide smile and assurance, as if he owned the place. He was encircled as soon as he stepped into the room, by his people, hugging his acquaintances, embracing admirers, and snapping pictures with partygoers while clearly having a good time and laughing aloud. The vibe of the room shifts as people start to draw towards Scrappy, as is always the case when he shows up. A few keen spectators observed something else in that dimly lit VIP booth across the floor, though most were just there for the pleasure. Kirk and Jock were not only still confined to their stairwell, but they were also carefully inspecting every spotlight produced a shadow, and Scrappy was about to step right into it. Even the DJ, halfway through a transition, slowed his beat a little bit, as if he was trying to figure out where the energy was going. Kirk leaned in once more, as the silence grew even more subdued back at the VIP booth. Even though Scrappy tried to hide the stress, it was evident to everyone who looked. Mid-twerk, one of the dancers by the bar stopped and turned to face Scrappy's booth. Lowering his voice, Jock nodded, glanced at his phone, then looked up at the club. There was no longer any playfulness between them, and he pointed with his chin to Scrappy's area. Kirk watched as a waitress brought another round of drinks, but she stopped as she reached their booth due to the looks on their faces, and Kirk narrowed his eyes without smiling or drinking. Sensing the tension, she set the bottle down carefully, remained silent, and retreated. Even though there were no camera phones yet, the actual people in the room were aware that something was going on. Kirk and Jock seemed to be waiting for a minute, as a few others seated near his booth observed. However, one of Scrappy's friends leaned close and muttered something while Scrappy continued to giggle. For just long enough to let the moment hang, in the air, Scrappy cast a quick glance over his shoulder toward Kirk and Jock's booth. Not only were they watching, they were waiting.
Go, let me go. Look at me, look at me. Let me go. Look at me, look at me. Man, I am frustrated.
The silence was abruptly broken as Kirk and young Jock finally stepped out of their VIP section and started to navigate the mob. As soon as they did, the atmosphere around them shifted, and you could see others stepping back. Even though they weren't shouting yet, their actions caught everyone's attention. Scrappy noticed the movement heading straight towards him, but he was still in the center of the dance floor, still experiencing the energy of his people. He turned and nodded as though he was trying as Kirk and Jock came closer. To keep a cool, "What's up?" Scrappy's question was asked with his arms outstretched, but Jock did not smile. His voice was intrigued, a touch hesitant, but not yet anxious. Instead of returning the gesture, Kirk stood so close that they no longer even thought about personal space. The tone immediately changed, and what started out as words quickly evolved into something far more intense. But the music suddenly got too loud for the tension in the air. Jock was the first to lean in, and although his voice was still low, we could clearly hear what he was saying. His eyes met his and he said, "Scrap, you've been talking too much. You know exactly what playing both sides is. smiling in our faces and then running your mouth behind the scenes," remarked Scrappy with a puzzled frown. The actual weight fell at that point. Kirk thought that since we had the receipts, wouldn't come back to us. So he pulled out his phone and held it up as evidence. "Last week, Jock entered the studio again when you were acting strangely. Because they emailed us everything. Do you think that people are loyal to you?" "That wasn't even the entire conversation," Scrappy said, turning back to Kirk after taking a brief look at the phone. "You people are misinterpreting the situation. I didn't say what you're trying to say, but I did say it." Kirk did not recoil when he raised his voice a little, responding, "Context or not, you said it, period." With the so-called proof in hand, the scene was getting more intense. Scrappy's normally calm manner was rattled and his face flushed. He stated, "Y'all are acting like I'm some snake, but I have been real with both of you. You guys, more times than I can remember." A Scrappy snap. "Since half of you are false nonetheless, you assume that I'm terrified of receipts." Everyone who hadn't previously noticed was now monitoring phones since the loudness had altered. Security at the edge of the dance floor started to move in just enough to be ready when the DJ turned down the music a bit. "You want to demonstrate to the others what you said and how you were deftly discussing me when I wasn't around." The statement struck Kirk, halted the jock's advance by saying, "Let him talk, let him get it all out. I restrained you all because Scrappy wasn't calming down, and now you're prepared to burn it all because of a few out-of-context remarks." Though not too close, the crowd was drawing near. Everyone in the club appeared to understand that it was about pride, respect, and trust being put to the test, and you could sense it. It was just a matter of seconds till the final spark ignited everything.
Have nobody if y'all ain't with me. I don't have nobody.
I'm with you.
Like all that talking, cuz I need y'all to show me, cuz, for real.
Neither Scrappy nor Jock was giving up when the yelling reached its zenith, as Scrappy approached and filled the narrow space between them until they were chest to chest. The Jock stayed still. "You might want to fall back before it gets real," Kirk added, leaning in to give Scrappy a final warning when he noticed it was coming, but Scrappy had already passed that threshold. In his words, "It already is real." Jock moved forward just enough to elicit a response a second later, and that was it. Scrappy shoved him hard in the chest, causing the Jock to stumble backward and collide with a nearby person. The music was broken as a drink flew from a table glass. Chaos erupted before they had even had a chance to cut. They all gathered around Kirk as he rushed forward. To draw him back, one of Scrappy's boys leaped in, but it just made him push harder. While trying to intervene, a second member of Scrappy's crew stumbled and collided with another VIP visitor. The audience, which had been silently watching, was now caught up in a real altercation as drinks poured and chairs toppled. As the dance floor erupted into a whirlwind of shouting, pushing, and flashing lights, several people started recording, while holding their phones high. The nightclub was not merely observing, they were actually present when a brawl broke out. Security had no time to waste. Within seconds, bouncers in all black, moving purposefully, rushed in from all sides. Before any blows could be exchanged, one rushed between Jock and Scrappy, and another grabbed Kirk from behind and dragged him out of the circle. With a shout of, "Don't touch him like that," one of Scrappy's guys pushed a security guard away, but his gang didn't slow down. As the bouncers doubled down and brutally separated the group, a woman next to her shouted, and a drink sprayed over her clothing. The booth where Scrappy had been partying now looked like it had been hit by a storm, and the tables had been rearranged. As things started to calm down, club staff moved in behind security to assist in pushing back the mob, picking up broken glasses, and trying to keep more clients from getting trapped in the midst. 3 security guards surrounded Kirk and Jock as they were escorted out through a side entrance when the DJ realized the shift had halted the music, and all noise had ceased except for shouts coming from the front of the club. Only clenched fists and angry eyes, no words. "Let it go, not here," muttered one of the men who held Scrappy by the arm as he dragged his team to the opposite end of the bar. Immediately after witnessing the action, clubgoers outside shared recordings of it, with voiceovers that said, "Yo, that's Scrappy and Jock fighting." One person commented, "Never seen drama pop off like this at a club before. People weren't Just reacting, they were picking sides after sharing a 15-second video that within minutes had thousands of views. The altercation may have lasted a few seconds and everyone was out there. Some accused Scrappy of exacerbating the situation, while others said Kirk and Jock were acting out of character. However, because Scrappy has club partnerships, public appearances, and collaborations scheduled with something this public, and because Kirk and Jock have business contacts throughout Atlanta, the consequences will be much longer. There are real consequences such as lost endorsements, strained relationships, and potentially even legal problems if someone files charges, so it's not just about bruised egos. What are your thoughts on the matter as a whole? For more updates, remember to subscribe to this channel and leave your thoughts in the comments section below.